Welcome to Love, Serve, Lead, sharing stories of disciples in the Iowa United Methodist Church who, empowered by the Holy Spirit, are loving boldly, serving joyfully, and leading courageously across Iowa and beyond.
Welcome to LSL Podcast, and we have Edgar Rucker. Please, Edgar Rucker, you want to introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's good to be here. I am Edgar Rucker. I am full-time as part of the campus chaplaincy team at Simpson College in Indianola, Iowa, just south of Des Moines, and an ordained Episcopal priest. But I run with a lot of Methodists, so I feel like I'm kind of adopted into y'all's family in Iowa. And so I work at the college. I do some work with college students, but my primary role is directing a program called the Simpson Youth Academy that works with high school students from throughout the state. So some of what I'm bringing to this conversation will be just experiences over the last, I suppose, 9 years that the Youth Academy has existed, working and learning with teens and their families and young adults as well.
Awesome. Later on, we're gonna speak more about the program that you are leading there in Simpson. But who you are? What do you like to do for fun?
What do I like to do for fun? Let's see. So I'm one of those backyard chicken people. So me and my partner live in Des Moines, Iowa.
Okay.
We have 2 children under 4 years old, so I don't have a ton of free time.
Oh wow! You have a party every day.
So I don't have a lot of sleep right now, but we are backyard chicken people. So we like taking care of our chickens, hanging out outside. I like to play music on the side, listen to music, read.
Do you play an instrument?
I play several instruments.
Really?
Yeah, I played drums in high school.
Did you? Oh, wow.
And then I sort of branched out. I thought about being a music teacher, which I think is kind of that same direction, working with teens. But I decided to do the ministry route, so I just do music for fun.
Oh, wow. So do you play some music in some gigs or any informal gigs at home or with friends or parties? Well, what do you play? You just play by yourself there? Or
more informal. But
okay.
I actually, in order to kind of stay sane during parenting of young kids, I am working on like a children's album.
Oh, wow.
But a children's album, for adults and parents, because you listen to the kids' music and some of it gets really grating and kind of drives you crazy. So I'm like, how can we write some music that is good for kids, but adults also can listen along.
Wow, that's interesting. So Eric, let's move with with the organization that you are connected, Simpson Youth Academy, because the topic today is belonging and building relationships.
So the Simpson Youth Academy, part of it, the creation of the academy was birthed out of this realization about 10 years ago that high schoolers might grow up around religious or spiritual communities. They might be really involved, but then they're in this life transition from kind of middle of high school to their early 20s. Maybe they go to college, maybe they do something else. But so many young people fall through the cracks.
They just get disengaged with their, let's say, spiritual development. They're disengaged with their own faith or whatever.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes. And I don't have any judgment about, there's a lot of healthy exploration that happens in your 20s. So that doesn't mean you have to stay at your home church for your whole life. But generally, we see a lot of young people fall through the cracks in that transition into their 20s. And I think more often that's not great for them because they get disconnected from healthy communities of flourishing that care about them, that are going to nurture them. And so we created this Youth Academy program as sort of a bridge between when you're 16 and 21. We said we really need to focus in on this age group and fill a vacuum so that young people are kind of falling off. And so the Youth Academy is a space that tries to do 4 things. We try to create a safe space for them to ask big questions about faith, and especially how their faith is related to social change and social justice. Why should I care about the church? And we try to say, there's a deep tradition here that will help you take action on mental health issues, take action on school shootings, take action on climate change, take action on so many things you're worried about, right? So that's the first thing. The second thing is to help them prepare for college and be a spiritually seeking person on a campus. The third is to connect them. We were talking about belonging, to connect them with a larger community that's loving, inclusive, and supportive. And the fourth is to give them tools to explore, what do I want to do with my life? Who am I?
I mean, I just read they don't want to get connected with a kind of a religious institution, but they want to grow in their spirituality in a different ways. Have you noticed something like that? Is that something that you have identified in your groups?
I would say a couple things that I've noticed. One is, this is a language from an author that talks about in the 1900s, kind of one of the primary trends that sociologists noticed was that people found their identity through opting into institutions. So I have esteem and I have social worth because I'm part of the United Methodist Church, or I'm part of Boy Scouts of America, or I'm part of the Democratic or Republican Party. But as some things have changed over the last 100 years, there's also been a shift in, at least what I've been reading and seeing, there's been a shift in how people make meaning. And so this shift from 1950s, I find my identity through being part of this institution, which is sometimes called the age of association. I associate with an institution. That's an important part of who I am. The shift to the big language of age of authenticity.
Yes.
So the age of authenticity means the dominant theme that we're seeing, at least in the West with Gen Z, is not I'm going to find my meaning through being a part of this institution, but rather it's my responsibility to create my own meaning and discover my meaning more individualistically.
Wow, that's very interesting. This is something that is growing, this kind of a searching for meaning and connections with the transcendent, meaning, that they want to get connected with something, but they want to not necessarily belong to the formal traditional institutions.
Yes. And I think, of course, the caveat is I'm speaking very generally, and there are exceptions in every community and among individuals, even in America. But I do think from the sociology I've been reading and from the young people we've seen over the last 10 years, I do believe there's been a general shift from the baseline being, I want to grow in my faith as a person, so I'm going to go visit my local church, to if I want to make meaning, the default isn't going to a church. It might be, I want to follow this spiritual teacher on TikTok or Snapchat. I want to have conversations in my dorm room, about spirituality, and read a book and have a conversation in that way. And I think one of the things that's been really helpful to me is a shift in the story. From a lot of times I hear churches respond to seeing this change and say, this is a story of decline. Which is based on the assumption young people don't believe in God anymore. Young people don't have spiritual hunger or interest in pursuing a spiritual path anymore. If we move to telling a story about trust, we see that kind of across the board, adults, but especially teens, have historically low numbers report low numbers of levels of trust with all our institutions. So we're not immune from that. It's government, it's schools, and it's institutional religion. And that's bad news and good news. That's bad news because I think it's creating some of the challenges of low participation, low buy-in. But the good news of if it's a story of trust issues instead of decline in interest, that means the hunger is still there, but the trust needs to be rebuilt. And so part of what we're doing at SYA is trying to be adaptive and say, where do we need to start? And that starts with, honestly, our vulnerability. Ours is in like church leaders' vulnerability. And what I like to call low trust activities that require low trust. So if you're a 17-year-old, you're much more likely to come to a D&D game outside of a church or grab coffee with me and a couple other friends than to just walk into a Sunday morning church service, right? So I think the hunger for community, the hunger for belonging and meaning are still deeply there. It's but some of the matter is we have to adapt to meet people in that low trust reality at this point.
What else do you see that they are looking for when they want to get connected or they want to explore some connection?
I would say deep belonging is something that young people really hunger for, and all people. When you engage in social media, there's a sense of high connectivity but low connection. There's a false sense I'm connected to hundreds or thousands of people, but not necessarily the realization that these connections are not deep and they're not leading to mutual flourishing and growth. And that's not to say social media is all bad. That's not to say all social media has the same impact on our brains. But when you grow up around smartphones and when you go through COVID, which wasn't any young person's fault, but to be a good person during COVID, you had to stay indoors for 4 years. And so when you grow up on platforms that try to replicate but create a cheaper form of belonging, and you haven't experienced that deep, often in-person reciprocity, I think there's still a significant hunger for that. kind
Yeah.
of deep belonging that it is one of the things I think the church still has to offer that is unique is this genuine welcome, this hospitality, and the creation of spaces where people can be themselves. Because another part of social media is this this identity formation expectation that you have to, from the age of 12, curate your own personality. You can create yourself. You know, even that myth.
Yeah.
And so I find often that the spaces we try to create at SYA are where we covenant together to be honest about our journeys. And whenever people covenant together to be honest and they can hold one another accountable for that in love, deep transformation and deep connection can happen. And that's something that I don't see happening in very many spaces right now.
When you get them together, what are the topics where they address?
So I think part of the way that the church can recover and gain trust with young people is starting by asking the question to young people instead of us saying, you know, I'm bringing you here to preach at you for 8 days.
Yeah.
And so to kind of echo, you know, part of it is creating a space to say, what keeps you up at night? What breaks your heart? What are you concerned about? You know, so a lot of, I'd say some of what we do is giving them tools to understand how the tradition developed and how Christianity, first taking stock of what are the ways in which Christianity has been used to harm, marginalize, hurt people.
Well, that hard topic to address with them, because they might have some knowledge or experiences or even readings about the errors and bad things that for many, many years, you know, a lot of Christian institution has done.
Absolutely.
And is that something heartbreaking or something heart-reaching to address those issues in your group?
I think that it's hard, but I think it's often refreshing for young people, again, to move from this posture of the institution saying, we know everything, we can defend everything we've done, to, and this isn't just in history, right? This is young people in their high schools seeing people wearing crosses and bullying people, seeing expressions of Christian nationalism that make young people want to say, I don't want anything to do with this Christianity thing.
Yeah.
So I think we often start there and say, how has this been misrepresented or
misrepresented
or misused or weaponized? And then pivot to saying, there is the core of this tradition we're here because we believe was founded on this way of Jesus, this person who was deeply compassionate, deeply loving, and gave his life for justice. And so trying to give them a credible expression of Christianity that's going to address these real and pressing issues that they have is a core part of our program. So we do that in the summer, and then we track with them for the whole next year. Doing some retreats, continuing to build community.
How did you address really, really devastating topics as you work with them, close to them? You mentioned some of them already.
It's really hard.
Yeah.
So I think that a few things that we're learning. One is, I'll say personally, vocationally, I believe that adults can change, but I've experienced that teenagers are often more courageous and willing to change. And part of what gives me hope is I was like, I need to go work with an age group that there's still some openness to each other. So we do deep listening training with young people. We model deep listening, but then we also let them practice it with each other. And at the beginning, we do a lot of storytelling too. And we say, we're going to talk about some very difficult things that most adults can't talk about together. But we believe that how we're going to accomplish that is by starting by seeing each other as people. So we do a lot of story sharing as the foundation. So it's not just, let's put up a really controversial topic on the board and then we have a debate. It's not, it's not a debate society, right? We start with, let's tell each other about our stories. So there's a sense of where I'm coming from.
Well, I think that the reality of the world is there in terms of mainly the Gen Z, right? That they are experiencing a world that it is in constant change, in constant advance to many different aspects of our human lives. So I have this kind of a very interesting object here. Has a lot of numbers.
Is it a Dungeons and Dragons?
Yeah.
Like.
So, in your experience, Eric, how you can use this object to kind of give a learning experience or a teaching experience to your group? Help us to imagine something creative.
All right. I'm gonna give two that come to mind. So
all right.
One is a little bit more explicitly spiritual religious.
Okay.
There are a bunch of numbers here. I could see opening up the Bible to the Sermon on the Mount.
Okay.
Matthew, blessed are the those who hunger and thirst for justice.
Mm-hmm.
Blessed are the meek. There are, I think, 12 of those. So one way I could see this going is you roll the dice.
Okay.
Whichever number it is, you go to that beatitude, that saying, and then we do like a reading of it and a discussion.
Oh, wow.
Of something that Jesus said. Maybe a less spiritual or religious one, or less explicitly. Mm-hmm. I could see this as just being sort of a check-in where you roll, mm-hmm. and then if it's 0 to 10, that's kind of a low that you experienced in your week. If it's 11 to 20, that's a high. So if I roll one of the lower numbers, then that means I name something that's been difficult for me. Like if we're in a small group, if I roll a number that's higher than 10, I name something that's life-giving, that's going well, etc. So I think just prompts to help young people reflect on how they're doing and share with other people can come out of anything, including a Dungeons and Dragons die.
Thank you for this conversation. I think this open possibilities to keep the conversations going and address important issues that our Gen Z and new generations wants to address in our families, in our context, in our faith communities, in our churches, in our colleges. Thank you all for attending this, and thank you, Eric, for attending this. If you want to say goodbye to the audience.
All right. Thank you so much. And thank you for the conversation, and would love to have you engaged with Simpson Youth Academy if you're interested.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Love, Serve, Lead, stories of how God is at work through the people of the Iowa United Methodist Church. To hear more inspiring stories, be sure to follow, share, and subscribe. Until next time, keep loving boldly, serving joyfully, and leading courageously. This podcast was produced by 2301 Studios in collaboration with the Iowa Conference Connectional Ministries Council. It is hosted by the Reverend Dr. Edgar Solís and edited by the Iowa United Methodist Communications Team. Theme music written by Reverend Dr. Solís.